The Tale of the Silent Songbird. In a forest not far from a quaint little village, there lived various creatures. Among them was a unique bird named Leo. Unlike other birds, Leo couldn't sing. Each morning, while the woods echoed with beautiful melodies, Leo would only open his beak and let out a faint whisper, hardly audible. Leo was often teased by other birds. "Look at Leo, the bird that can't sing," they would mock. This hurt Leo deeply. He wanted to sing as beautifully as the others, to share his emotions, his happiness, and his sorrow. One day, an old owl named Orla noticed Leo's distress. Orla was known to be wise and had seen many seasons pass. She approached the saddened bird and asked, "Why are you so gloomy on such a beautiful day?" With a sigh, Leo replied, "I wish I could sing like the others. I feel so out of place." Orla looked at Leo and said, "Not all gifts are visible or audible. Perhaps there's something special within you that others don't have." Leo looked puzzled, but what could that be? The wise owl responded, "Follow me." Orla led Leo to a serene part of the forest, a place with a calm pond reflecting the sky. "Look into the water and tell me what you see," she instructed. Leo peered into the pond and saw his reflection. "I see myself," he said. Orla nodded. "Now close your eyes and listen." Leo did as told. At first, he only heard the distant chirping of birds and the rustle of leaves. But as he focused, he began to hear the soft heartbeat of the forest, the gentle flow of water, and the whisper of the wind. It was a symphony in itself. "You see," Orla began, "you have a gift of hearing the unspoken, the quiet wonders of the world that others often overlook. Your silence isn't a lack of song, but a testament to your ability to appreciate the subtle magic around." Leo felt a warmth in his heart. He understood what Orla meant. His worth wasn't determined by his ability to sing but by his unique perspective. From that day on, Leo took pride in his silence. Instead of trying to fit in, he celebrated his differences and found joy in the small, often unnoticed wonders of the world. And as for the other birds, they began to notice the beauty in the silent moments, too, realizing that every creature had its own unique gift to share. A misadventure with a time capsule. Lila and Sam were best friends. They lived next door to each other and did everything together. One sunny day, they got an exciting idea while reading a book about history. "Let's make our own time capsule," exclaimed Lila. Both of them started searching for a suitable box. Finally, they found an old metal tin in Sam's attic. They decided to fill it with things that represented their life in the present. Lila added her favorite hairpin which had a tiny unicorn on it. Sam chose to include a small toy car, the kind that would zoom across the floor. They both wrote letters to their future selves, talking about their favorite foods, the games they loved, and their dreams. They even drew a little map of their neighborhood. Once everything was inside the tin, they sealed it tight. Now, they needed to find the perfect spot to bury it. They wanted a place that was both secret and memorable. Behind Lila's house was a huge oak tree. It was known as the oldest tree in the neighborhood. Its broad trunk and extensive roots made it look majestic. "This is the perfect place," said Sam. With a small shovel, they dug a hole near the tree, placed the time capsule inside, and covered it with soil. They marked the spot with a couple of stones. Years went by. Lila and Sam grew up and went to different colleges. The memory of the time capsule faded, but the oak tree remained, silently guarding their little secret. One summer, Sam returned to the neighborhood and visited Lila. They reminisced about their childhood and suddenly remembered the time capsule. Excitedly, they rushed to the oak tree. They found the stones but couldn't locate the exact spot they'd buried the capsule. After digging several holes, they started to feel disappointed. Just then, Lila's younger brother, Ben, approached them. "Looking for this?" he said, holding up the metal tin. Lila and Sam stared in surprise. "How did you find it?" Sam asked. Ben grinned. "I saw you burying it years ago and got curious. I took it out, had a look, and then reburied it closer to the tree." The two friends laughed, realizing that their secret mission wasn't as secret as they'd thought. They opened the tin, and memories flooded back as they looked at the trinkets and read the letters. Though the time capsule adventure hadn't gone as planned, Lila and Sam learned something more valuable. Memories, whether buried in the ground or stored in the heart, always have a way of resurfacing, reminding us of the cherished moments from the past. The library's oldest story. Lily always loved the smell of old books. There was something magical about opening a book and diving into another world. She was lucky enough to live near an ancient library that was home to thousands of stories. On a rainy Saturday, she put on her rain boots, took her umbrella, and walked into the library. Today, she wanted a special book, something unique. Mrs. Clara, the librarian, with silver hair and glasses, always had good recommendations. "Hello, Mrs. Clara," greeted Lily. "Hello, dear. Looking for a book?" Mrs. Clara replied with a warm smile. "Yes, I want to read the oldest story this library has," said Lily with enthusiasm. Mrs. Clara raised an eyebrow. "Ah, you're in for an adventure. Let me show you." She led Lily to the back of the library, where there was a spiral staircase leading down to a basement. It was a section Lily had never been to before. The air was cooler, and the walls were lined with old manuscripts and scrolls. Mrs. Clara walked over to a wooden shelf and carefully picked up a dusty old book with a leather cover. "This," she said, "is the oldest story we have." Lily opened the book. The pages were yellowed, and the ink had faded in places. The story was about a young girl named Ilara, who lived in a town where no one spoke. They used a special sign language. Ilara loved to dance, and she used her dance to tell stories. Every day, Ilara would dance in the town square. People would stop and watch, losing themselves in the tales she spun. They'd laugh, cry, and applaud, all without uttering a single word. Ilara's dance was magical. It brought the community together, letting everyone share emotions without speech. The tale entranced Lily. She read about Ilara's adventures, her friendships, and how her dance changed the people's lives in her town. When she finished, she looked up, her eyes shining. Mrs. Clara smiled. It's a story that reminds us that words aren't the only way to communicate. Feelings, emotions, and stories can be shared in many ways. Lily nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Clara. This was indeed a special story. As she left the library, the rain had stopped, and the sun peeked through the clouds. Lily felt inspired. She went to the town square, played music, and began dancing, sharing the joy she felt from the story she had just read. And just like in the story of Ilara, people began to gather around, connecting through the universal language of movement and emotion.